This is a 2019. It's a Honda Civic Sport 4-door. I've got this car pulled into my small little shop here. We're gonna put an amplifier in here. I am going to build a fiberglass enclosure that goes in right here. On this side, we'll go over what I'm gonna do here. This is gonna be the subwoofer that we're using. It's an old Audio Bond subwoofer, a 10. It's a dual 4 ohm voice coil. This thing has been around. It's been in several vehicles, and it has standed the test of time. Now, if you're unfamiliar of what a 4 ohm voice coil is, or a dual 4 ohm, let me kind of give you a rundown here. Basically, a speaker is it's considered a motor. You have a magnet here. Inside of this magnet, of course, I'm not going to take this apart to show you. There's other YouTube videos that show that. There is a voice coil that moves in and out of a magnet, which translates to the speaker cone, which creates your sound waves. The voice coil and the magnet that creates the motor of this subwoofer is powered by your outputs from your amplifier. This one has 2 inputs, or 2 voice coils. You have one voice coil here and one over here. Each one of these rates at 4 ohms. If I, positive and negative there, you're going to come up, 3.9, 4 ohms, 3.5 thereabouts, and the same with the other side. It's comes up as 4 ohms. Now, you can wire this to make this subwoofer either 2 ohms or 8 ohm. If you combine the 2 voice coils in what's called parallel, which is hooking positive to positive, negative to negative, that's in parallel, we'll take it from 2 4 ohms. You combine those 2 and you'll get 2 ohms. If you run them in series, the way you combine these 2 voice coils, it takes it to 8 ohms. So it just depends on how many subwoofers you have, what your impedance is you're trying to get to for your amplifier. The amplifier that I'm using is a Class D. It's actually capable of 1 ohm, but this subwoofer won't push that far, so it's going to be basically a 2 ohm load. And the way we do that, turn that off for a minute, is the way we connect these. You're going to go from the positive of one voice coil, and you're going to connect it to the positive of the other voice coil. You connect them together. That voice coil, and since it's on this side, it's actually going to cross. Here's the positive of the other one, and you can see that by the 2 little red dots. I got a red dot there and a red dot right there. I'm going to connect those together. Alright, I'm going to do the same thing with the negative side of the speaker lead. And don't get confused with the fact that this has 4. This is the negative, this is the positive. Audio Bond just gives you 4 to make it easier to hook up multiple wires. That's all that's for. And I will go around this side of the speaker, cross it over here, because it has to go to the negative side of the other voice coil. Now, and you can connect the speaker wires coming from the amplifier on either side. It doesn't matter. I'll just use this side because the wires don't cross and they're not in the way. So I'm going to put this back on my ohms scale, which, sorry if the sunlight is not allowing you to see anything. Put it on the ohms, which if you're not familiar with ohms, it looks like the little horseshoe or the headphones, if you will, symbol. But if you touch your positive and your negative leads again together, now that these 2 voice coils have been connected, now you're going to get 2 ohms, which now the amplifier is going to run at a 2 ohm load. No problems whatsoever there. Like I said, the amplifier I'm going to be using is capable of going to 1 ohm, so we're not going to be anywhere near its capacity. As a matter of fact, it's not going to put out as much power. But for a 10-inch sub, that's quite okay. This car will still have quite a bit of bass. Alright, let's get started on how we're going to do this. Well, let's see what we have to work with here. Let's see if we can get this trunk mat out of here easily. Okay. Of course, you know, all the spare tire and stuff is under here. We want to keep that. It looks like we have some styrofoam here for little storage. It looks like this little door can flip up and you can put stuff here. Well, that's gonna be gone. Now I have a choice. I can make my subwoofer fit right here, which there's plenty of room. It'll go here. I gotta make sure I get, you know, back far enough to clear the hinge arm there. So it's probably gonna go right here. I'm not gonna worry about taking any of this stuff here out. We make it sit above this so this can be removed without having to take the box out, and you can get to the spare tire. And I'll show you how all that works. The next thing I need to do is figure out is to pull these clips out here, pull this panel here off, and see what I have back here to work with, because I have to have a way to mount the box once it's built. The way I like mounting the boxes is putting nutserts in and using bolts. I don't like using drywall screws or wood screws, whatever you want to call them, because they tend to pull out of metal after a while when you're hanging something, you know, the weight of a subwoofer plus a fiberglass enclosure. And if it were, you know, you're driving around bouncing over rough roads, they tend to strip those holes out. So I like to put nutserts and actual bolt it in to the car. Let's see what we have to work with back here. Oh, nice. Got a nice panel here. The reason I do the nutsert first is because I want to make sure that when I fiberglass this, I fiberglass a small piece of wood there so that 1/4-20 bolt that I'll wind up using has a good surface to screw down onto and be able to support the weight. So what I'm going to do, I don't know, I might see if I can put one there. That'd be a real good place for one. Let me pull this tail light out real quick and see what we got to work with. Well, those are always scary. Alright, what I want to look for is room. Right here, I have plenty of room to put a nutsert and it not be in the way. So I'm going to put a nutsert in here, here, and here. So the first thing I need to do is figure out where that's going to be. So let's line all this stuff back up. This is a spring-loaded center punch. You see the end of this, it's spring-loaded, and when it goes in all the way, it pops, and when it does, it leaves a small little dent wherever you have it touched. So what I want to do is just go ahead and make sure this is where I want it. And there's the dent right there, if you can see it. So that's perfect. Exactly where I want it. Now comes the point of no return. Drill holes. Again, the reason I'm doing this now is so it will line up. Once I get the fiberglass shell done, these will line up exactly where I want them, and I don't have to worry about trying to find the holes again later. All right, 3/8 drill bit. got my, you open these all the way out, you screw this all the way down, tighten it, put your rivet on until the top of that stud that you screw it on is all the way in. You want to make sure all the threads are being used, and then you have a little bit of extra to be able to start pulling down. So once you get it in here, you get it in there, you get it flush, and then you pull. Then you unscrew this, and you have a nutsert. You can reach around from the back side and it's all tight and you're good. Next one, make sure you're flush up against that metal and pull. And the last one. And actually this one will allow me to show you what it looks like on the other side. There's the rivet. I don't know if you can see where it mushroomed, and those knurls are crimped now up against the metal, and that's what keeps it from turning. Now when you go to tighten these up, you don't want to tighten these up super tight, like with all your might, because you will start spinning these, and once these spin, it is a bear to get the bolt back out. So you just want to snug it, light back where we want it. Now for this to go back up, and with any luck this won't have to come back out again. And so let's go ahead and snap all this back together. My next thing is I got to cover all of this in plastic, because I'll be plastic and cardboard, because I'll be fiberglass, and I want to make sure no fiberglass doesn't get anywhere it's not supposed to. And this is just 3M painter's plastic basically. Now what I'm going to do is tape all the area off that I'm going to fiberglass. The reason I tape it is because, for one, this plastic, as you can see, doesn't, if I were to put plastic here, it doesn't stick to this and it moves around too much. This creates a good barrier between trunk liner carpet here and the fiberglass. Still allows for the contour, and it allows for fiberglass to be removed once it's cured. I've got 3 1/2-inch MDF squares, roughly 2 by 2, and I went ahead and drilled a 3/8 hole in it. It's a little bit big for the bolt, but it gives me some wiggle room. If you've never done fiberglass, when you put fiberglass resin on, it likes to run down. Well, as it runs down, it's going to get in any nook and cranny. So you need to overlap your tape in a way to where the fiberglass won't get behind it. So you got to start at the bottom, and then your next layer of tape goes over the top. The next layer of tape goes over the top edge. So as it runs down, it's kind of like shingles on a roof. As it runs down, it doesn't have anywhere to go. If you put the tape on here and then put this tape on, you know, if you put it here and then put it here, if this part of the tape isn't completely sealed, it'll run down, get in between that, and then stick to your carpet, which is a nightmare. Even though it's not going to be seen, it will pull and it will shred and it will rip. Because of the contour, sometimes it doesn't always work out, as you can see. But that's okay. You just go over it and just keep putting tape down. That's why I use a lot of tape. All right, I know I said start at the bottom. But I started at the top so I could make sure that this is in position and it doesn't move or try to deflect as I start down here. So now I will start at the bottom and work my way up. I am going to tape all the way to here, and then I'll actually put plastic down. This tape is going to run past where I need it, because I have to run the fiberglass past where I need it. So I'll go over to here, and then I'll wind up putting plastic back in there. Now, this isn't the only way to do this. This is just my way to do this. You know, somebody may look at this and go, man, you're doing it all wrong, and somebody else may look at it and go, wow, I've never thought of that before. Hey, to each their own. If you don't like the way I do it, don't watch. Okay. I did put 2 layers. If I didn't mention that, sorry. You can do as many layers as you want. You can do 1, you can do 10. I don't care. Whatever you feel. I did 2 because this isn't a super intricate box. If it was a lot of folds and a lot of different angles, I would put more. And the reason is it's easier to take the the mold out once it's done, because this will be a sealed enclosure, by the way, just if anybody's wondering. All right, next step is to finish putting the plastic down. I'll just do one strip that goes here across and out. That's about wide enough. If I was smart, thought about it, I would have put the short piece in, the little piece in first, and then put the bigger piece over the top. Then I wouldn't have had to have all this. But I didn't think about it. We got everything taped up. It's all good. By the way, this is a new day. I stopped last night because this was cutting into my drinking time. Can't have that. Gotta have my drinks on Friday night. What I want to do now is I want to cut out a piece of MDF as a floor here, because there's no sense in fiberglassing flat. If you can use, anywhere that's flat, it's easier just to use wood. I use MDF. You can use plywood if you like. I prefer MDF. It's more dense. To me, it gives off better acoustics. It doesn't vibrate as much, especially for a subwoofer. But what I want to do is, because this floor is got the spare tire under it, I don't want to, and this little ear that sticks out, this little tab that sticks out over here, is part of this floor. I don't want to cut it, because if I cut it, I'd have to cut it all the way up to the front, and I'm not keen on that. If this ear ended right here, that would be one thing. I wouldn't care. But you still need access to the spare tire. So what I want to do is raise this up. So I went and got me a piece of just 3/4 inch plywood here. I'm going to set it there. My ultimate goal is to get a piece of MDF that fits on top of this and goes and connects to the bottom of this, and it'll attach to that right there. That'll support it. I don't think that's quite the right size, but we'll get to that. But first what I need to do is go ahead and make me a template that I can use to cut this shape out of some MDF. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and put my piece of wood there. I'm going to take a marker and just kind of trace it out on here. So I'm just going to take my marker. Now it's not going to be the exact height, because the height of the marker is just a little bit above this, but that's fine. It just gives me a reference line. And this is all I want to do, is just make me a reference line. Some people say, this step might not be necessary for some people, and normally if I wasn't recording this, I probably wouldn't do it myself, just because I've done this enough times. I know where it's going to wind up. Now what I need to do is make me a template that fits this. There's several ways you can do it. There's fancy little tools. You got these type things here that can get in here and get the contours in the corners and stuff like that. But I'm going to show you how to do it with basically a piece of cardboard, some scissors, and a little time. What we're going to do is trim this to fit that. Obviously that's easier said than done, but what I always try to do, what I want is, I don't want this box to come out past this point here. Subwoofer is going to angle back just a little bit to make sure that I have enough depth for the speaker and to clear the hinge here. I want to make sure I keep a nice straight line between here and here. So I'm going to use my framing square here, and right here, I don't know if you can see it, this is the hinge for this little flap. So that gives me a nice straight line. That's where I want the bottom of the box to come to. So that's where I want the bottom of this to come to. So what I'm going to do is kind of start right here and use that edge as a reference to keep this straight. First, I'm going to take a measurement from the deepest part, which looks like to be about right here, to my square, which is 7 inches. So from here, I'm going to mark 7 inches. Draw me a line on that and I'll go cut it. I'll be right back. Line that up and kind of get an idea of what this angle here is. I'm just gonna put that right there. I'm gonna make it come to this corner because that's gonna be the end. So I'm gonna slide this down just a little bit. That's a fairly close anyway. So we're going to draw that, and then just extend the line all the way down to the corner. Alright, so let me go cut that. Okay, now you know there's many different ways to do this, and if you know of a better way or have a better way, then so be it. Use what you got. Okay, so that pretty much matches that angle there. Now we have this little curve right here to deal with. Some people will take real thin strips of this and just lay it out and then tape it together, which is fine. And if that's what you want to do, go for it. All right, what I'm going to do is take me just a piece of strip of cardboard, make it round so it fits up against that. I'm going to mark where the edge of this cardboard comes to, which is about right there. So about right there, I'm going to make a hole. Alright, made me a hole. Let's see if it's right. Close enough. I'm going to take my pin, shove it through that hole a little bit. Alright, so what I'm going to do is just basically follow my line. Just try to keep this as straight as you can and keep your pin straight. I think I messed up already. All right, no worries. I think this corner needs to be there. So this needs to actually be there, because when this pushes back in, this corner will wind up there. Let's try this again. Something like that. You're just looking for something rough right now. You can fine tune it in a bit. Something like so. And you just sit here, cut it out. Alright, let's see how it looks. Alright, it's a little bit off, which is fine. It's better too big. You can always cut it down. Take here. So let's take this and bring it down. We're almost there. Just a little more trimming. looking pretty good. So it seems like I cut a little bit too much off right back here. So what I'm going to do is take a piece like so. I'm going to retrim it. So let me cut a corner off of that so I can get this to fit a little better. Something like that right there. Then you take a piece of tape, tape it down, then move. Like so. Okay, so you take that right there, and you can see, I mean, it's not much, but I cut it just a little too short. Going to trace this out on a piece of MDF and cut it out. That's a little bit off. So I can do one of two things. I can either raise this up to match this or cut another one of these that's just a little bit longer. I think I'm just going to raise this up. It doesn't need much. Maybe the thickness of a couple pieces of cardboard. Look at there. I think that'll work. Alright, what I'm going to do now is mark this, get this right where I want it. Just going to use some CA glue, extreme power medium, that's CA, and then some Instaset or zip kicker. You only get a few seconds to do this. That'll work. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to run a few brads through this real quick. Alright, just kind of stabilize it. That ought to do it. Actually, I got some metal fragments there. Let's clean those up. I don't have my little handheld vacuum out here, so let's cheat. Let's do it the redneck way here. Look at there. What a vacuum. No electricity.